my dear students. In this particular lecture, we will be covering the different parts of an electrical DC machine. So in the last class, we have just started the basics and we have just covered the energy conversion principles in case of a generator and a motor. Next, we have discussed how the stator and rotor looks like, how the windings are placed, and what are their structures. Next, we have discussed about the slot arrangements in the stator and the rotor. And after that, we have discussed that what are the laws that are involved while discussing or understanding, rather proper understanding of an electrical machine. Also, we have discussed that how does a generator operate and how does a motor operate. What are the two modes of operation, that is generating and subsequently what is motoring. So now today we will be proceeding with the construction and we will discuss the laws. So this diagram presents the cross section of a DC machine. So it is the cross section of a DC machine. So let us discuss these parts one by one. So you see, this is known as, shown by the arrow, this is known as the frame of the machine. What is the purpose of the frame of the machine? The first purpose is support of yoke and the poles. So the purpose of the frame is to support the poles and the yoke. So the poles, we have discussed that what are the poles? The poles are responsible for production of the magnetic field. Actually, they are made up of ferromagnetic material, and when coils are wound on those structures and current is passed, it will exhibit magnetism, and magnetic lines of force will start flowing from North Pole and they will end in the South Pole. This is how the magnetic field is produced with the help of the poles. So this is the purpose of poles. Now secondly, what is a yoke? The yoke is something which produces, or rather which provides, the magnetic path for the magnetic lines of force. I will write this for you. The purpose of the yoke is to produce or provide the path for magnetic lines of force. This is the purpose of yoke. So how the magnetic paths are formed? So let us assume the current, it is starting from here. Actually, this particular terminal and this particular terminal, they are the field connection. That is the static part. So you see the field connection is coming from here. It is going like this. Again, it is connecting all the poles and it is going out. So let us assume that this terminal is positive and this particular terminal is negative. So the current is basically starting from here, and this is the direction of the currents. Here the current will come like this, it will enter the back and come again to the front. So this is how the current is flowing. Again it will go like this. Again it will go here. It will be like this over here. And again it will go out and enter to the negative. So this is how they are connected. So actually these terminals are marked as F, the positive is F and the negative is double F. These are known as the field terminals. Now what you are supposed to do is the 5 laws which we have discussed yesterday. You have to use the right hand thumb rule for this. You have to use the right hand thumb rule. So you orient for this particular pole, you orient your thumb of your right hand in the direction of the currents. That means it will be like this. And your direction of the curling fingers will point downwards. So your field will be in the direction of the curling fingers, that is downwards. Similarly, in this particular case, you orient your thumb in the direction of the current. So it will be pointing like this. So your curling fingers will be oriented in the direction of the right. So your it will be like this. Similarly, in this particular case, if you orient your thumb like this in the direction of the current, so your magnetic field will be in the upward direction. And for this particular case, if you orient your right hand in the direction of the current, it will be again in this particular direction. So it will attend, this will attend, you see that for this particular pole, that is, let us name this as pole A. This is pole B. This is pole C. This is pole D. So what will be the polarity of pole A? You see that from the poles, the magnetic field is emerging, and automatically it will be labeled as N, or North Pole. So pole A is North Pole. If you see pole B, you see the magnetic field is entering to the pole. So B is South Pole. For pole C, you see again the magnetic field is emerging out of the pole. So pole C is again North Pole. And finally, for pole D, it is South Pole. So I will clear this up. So the orientation is something like this. This is north, this is south, this is north, and again this is south. So now, how will the magnetic lines of force be oriented? So in this particular case, you see, if you start from pole A, you will see that the lines of force are coming like this. It will enter to the south pole like this, and you see the yoke will provide the return path. So the path will be as shown by the direction of the arrow. So this is how magnetic lines of force will maintain its continuity through pole A and pole B. What about pole B and pole C? So in this particular case, the magnetic lines of force will start from the north pole, it will enter to the south pole, and the yoke will again provide the return path, and it will terminate from its origin, and this will be the direction. Similarly, if you observe pole C and pole D, so it will start from north pole, it will enter the south pole, the yoke will provide the return path like this. So this will be the direction. And what about pole D and pole A? So here it will originate like this, it will enter to the south, the yoke will provide the return path and will terminate like this. So this will be the path. So you see how the yoke is providing the path for the lines of force. So this is all about yoke. So now this is all about the yoke. So next comes the rotor part. So you see, as discussed yesterday, the rotor is slotted in the outer periphery, and the armature conductors are placed in these slots as shown. So these are the armature conductors winding. So what is an armature winding? When two or more armature conductors are connected, it will form an armature winding. And you see that in this particular diagram, the armature conductors are capable of producing currents, and the windings are connected in the commutator segments. So these are known as the commutators. Actually, what is a commutator? The commutator is basically the current collection point. In case of a generator, where unidirectional current are collected through the brushes. So you see, these are denoted by black. These are the brushes. So the commutator segments, they are made up of hard drawn electrolytic copper. So this is the name of the material which is used for commutator segments. It is made up of hard drawn electrolytic copper, because copper has the reputation of having one of the best electrical conductivity. That's why we are using hard drawn electrolytic copper. And you see over here, between each of these mica segments, there is a arrangement as shown by red. So two commutator segments are separated by mica sheets. Why mica sheets are used? Because mica sheets will act as insulators. So to avoid short circuiting between two adjacent commutator segments, we will use mica sheets. So that two adjacent commutator segments, let us say I will just draw it in a straight line. So suppose this is commutator segment A, this is commutator segment B, and this is commutator segment C. So you see here, between A and B there is separation, and between B and C there is also separation. So these two are mica sheets, and ABC, these three are commutator segments. Now I will just clear this thing up. So next comes the brushes, or the current collection system. So suppose I will just draw this part, that means this part, in a straight line, in a linear way, like this. So these are the commutator segments A, B, C, D, like this. So you see now here, brushes are placed like this, and the brushes are housed in brush holders by spring action, so that the brushes will be able to exert pressure on this commutator segments. So this is the brush, and this is the brush holder. So what happens when the windings, let us say, so this is how the windings are oriented. So now when the brush is at position B, you see what will happen. Current will be passed through the commutator segments through the brushes. And suppose this is the brush B, and it will go out to the terminal box in case of a generator. But in case of a motor, this will be in this particular direction. So it will be unidirectional, but inside the, after the commutator segments, it will be bidirectional. So this is for the motor. So again, let us come back to our own point. So this is the commutator segments so brush and the brush holder is there, and this brush, since it is sliding against the commutator segments, because the commutator segments are rotating with a very high speed since it is placed in the rotor, but this brush segment, this brush, it is static, it is not moving. So what will happen, this commutator segment and this brush, there will be a huge frictional force between them. So until and unless these brushes are made up of very good lubricating material, so what will happen, there will be severe wear and tear between the commutator and brush segments due to this very high frictional force. So for this reason, the brushes are made up of graphite. So the brushes are made up of graphite. Because graphite is having two properties. Number one, very good conducting property. It is a very good conductor. And number 2, lubricating property. So these are the very two important properties of graphite. And after this carbon brushes, you will get unidirectional DC in case of a generator along these terminals. So these terminals are marked as A and AA. So what is the full form of A? It is nothing but the armature. And here in this case the armature is always rotating. It is not static. Like the field windings, they are static. The armature windings, they are rotating, since they are housed in the rotor. And we are getting unidirectional current output in the terminals A and AA if it is a generator. But if it is a motor, then we have to give supply to the terminals A and AA. So this is the stand which is housing the motor, and they are bolted to the ground so that it doesn't move, because when a motor is rotating it will experience severe vibration. So they are bolted to the foundation. And one important thing that we will definitely discuss in the next class, that is the forces experienced by the windings. So I hope I could give one constructional overview of a DC machine. So in the next class we will be, or the next lecture, we will be continuing with the rest of the constructional features, and after that we will be discussing the laws, which is the underlying physics laws. This we will discuss in the next class. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.